Welcome everyone. We are situated today just outside Robertson at Zandvliet Wine Estate, and I'm here with Jacques Cilliers. So thanks for having me here.
Thank you very much.
And it is International or World Shiraz Day on a cool July day, and we're very excited to be tasting some wines in this beautiful cellar on Zandvliet Estate. They have a fire going in the background, so they'll be nice and toasty. And what better wine to drink on a cool day in winter than Shiraz? So Zandvliet are specialists in Shiraz, and that's why we've chosen you as our hotspot today. And Jacques has been with Zandvliet for quite a long time. Jacques?
Yeah, since 2011.
2011?
Yeah, I've been with Zandvliet. So yeah, I'm just a little part of the history. I think over 45 years of Shiraz being made on Zandvliet. So
right.
Yeah, 10 years of that, or 11 years of that. So just a small part, but enjoying it very much. Yeah.
Great. So do you feel you learn from year to year? Is there something that you discover being part of a wine farm for such a long period?
Yeah, I think there's always new discoveries. There's no vintage like the next one. You know, there's always something new happening. I mean, we live in a Cape of storms and good weather, so yeah, this past vintage 2021, you know, latest vintage for me personally in 20 years of
really?
winemaking. Yeah, we finished I think the 25th of April. We're normally halfway through March, 20th of March we're done.
That's almost a month difference.
Yep, it was a month.
It was a month, yeah.
I think the rosé that I make from Shiraz, you know, it was exactly 32 days later than normal. And same bulling, same tons per hectare, same block. So yeah, bit unusual. So every time, I think if you're in the winemaking industry, even sales or whatever, you must be ready for changes every time. And yeah, so and that makes it exciting.
Yeah,
yeah,
you're right.
Yeah.
So the rosé is also Shiraz based. We're not tasting it today. One can drink rosé in the middle of winter, but we've chosen some red wines and actually a port. Do you want to say a couple of words about the rosé?
Yeah, it's something new for us. I think this will be the 2021 will be the third year that we release it. It's a dry rosé. We farm the specific block, planted on weathered shale, specifically to make a rosé. Meaning the varietal that we use bear bigger bunches, bigger berries. We're not looking for color concentration.
Yeah.
We look for that onion skin color in the wine,
beautiful.
Rose gold type of color. Yeah, so and we're achieving it. We're lucky to have been able to achieve it every vintage so far. Yep, and it's just a nice, quaffable wine.
Yeah, delicious. Dry rosé with a bit of fruit.
Yes.
It's proving very popular, so look out for that. It's the one with the rose on the label,
yes,
is that right?
With the rose. So it's sort of hinting away from the more traditional Zandvliet label. Tells you a little bit about the history of the farm and the roses and why the importance of that in the history. But that you have to come to the farm and taste it, and yeah, you hear the stories.
So if you're traveling in the Robertson area in the Western Cape, definitely a place to visit, not only in winter for the lovely fireplace and cozy tasting room, but also in summer. And Robertson, Ashton area are known for roses. It seemed to be a name that's often referred to, you know, the Valley of Roses.
Yeah, roses, Valley of Roses, and racehorses in the past. Yeah, it's been there. I think weather, water, soil, it all plays, you know, a big part. The thing is, where it looks beautiful, people tend to drive slowly. And if they drive slowly and they see an invitation, like the Zandvliet sign on the road, they tend to drive in. And that's where we are, in this beautiful tasting room, what we call the Kalkveld Lounge. And yeah, you can come in here and taste all the wines that we produce. So roses, fortunately the racehorses, you know, I don't think people race that often anymore, but yeah, there's also a little bit of a story that people might not know is you breed racehorses where there's lots of chalk in the soil because it builds strong bones if they graze on
the calcium.
Yeah, on the soil. So, yeah, coming from here, you know, I'm thin, but the power is in the bones. So, and it's the same for racehorses. So, and it does, you know, there's a little effect on the wines. We can discuss it later. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we will talk about that. We've got some of the soil, actually, or the it's more like rock rather than soil that we'll talk about in a moment. Then that Kalkveld lounge that you mentioned, and there's a Kalkveld Shiraz that we'll talk about, and how that calcium is not just good for the horses but also for the wine. Right, but we're going to start first of all with our first wine is the Zandvliet Shiraz, which is really a wine that's received awards in recent years. It's a very affordable, enjoyable wine. How would you describe it, or what can you tell us about it?
Well, Zandvliet Shiraz, you know, there it is, the classic. I think everybody got to know it. You know, first release was in 1975.
Wow.
So yeah, it gives it what 45, 46 years
Gosh.
now. But older than me, just a year older. But you know, if you've been in the industry for that long, successfully selling a specific wine, you know, for me personally, that's what I've learned is that people get to know the style, they like it, they continue to support you. I don't want to say it's a safe wine to pick from the shelf. We were lucky to taste 75 about 2 or 3 years ago, and it was still beautiful. And during this past lockdown, when you know, your normal wines ran out of your cellar, people started sending me pictures of their older bottles that they opened, and they were surprised that it kept so well. And it
That's great news.
Yeah,
huh?
and so it gives you an idea. It's a very quaffable, very drinkable wine. It's got a little bit of spice in it. What more of, you know, when it ages, there's a little bit of licorice coming through. But look for the plums and the prunes in the wine, and then just a very nice soft palate. So in 1975, or those early years, I mean, there was maybe a hotel in Robertson. We didn't have tasting rooms around, and a hotel at the restaurant, and that was the place where everybody got together.
You took care at the restaurant and the hotel.
Yeah, so what happened is, you know, and that was the beginning, you know, KWV, they bottled everything, and that's where sort of the industry started with the little farms bottling their own wines, and Zandvliet was one of those that decided they're going to work together with Anton Rupert and the Bergkelder in Stellenbosch and make the wines on the estate. Truck it there, it was aged and then bottled. So it was aged in big 4,000, 5,000 litre food rare casks.
So it's very large casks.
Yes. And
gentle oaking then, huh?
yes, you don't want to overpower it. And then we moved further on, you know, through your 80s, really got known. And you know, think back 30, 40 years ago, how many estates was there? Maybe of this was maybe 10 or 12, 20, 20 wines that you can choose from. Now, these days, is maybe over 500 wine farms, I don't know. So through the 90s, in the honeymoon period, for us, 94 upwards, then new oaking or smaller casks that you see here in the background became fashionable. And you can taste it in the 2003, 2002 wines, a little bit more fresher, newer French oak that was used. And in 2015, I decided let's move back to the bigger oak casks. I think
more traditional approach.
More traditional, respect the fruit, and that's what we've done since 2015, and also the 2017 is in the 4,000 litre food rare barrels, and I think it's 2 years in the barrel. It really respects the fruit and gives you a wine that you comfortably can, with confidence, pick from the shelf and enjoy with your friends. So,
yes. Well, let's drink to that. Cheers.
Cheers.
I pick up the plums that you speak about, you know, and what's nice about plums, it's not just dark berry fruit, which we have here too, but plums always have a bit of acidity, so a little bit of a bite, which is welcome always in a wine because it's refreshing. Means you can go back for another sip. If it's too much berry and too sweet, on the palate, your palate tires more quickly.
Yep.
So I quite like that tang that comes with it, that freshness.
Yeah, and it works with leg of lamb. Yeah, it goes very nicely with that. Properly made, slow cook. Beef bourguignon.
Pretty much any beef dishes, lamb dishes would work because it still has a lightness to it. It's not going to overpower any meat. And a little bit of spice there that would go well with any herbs.
Yes.
The black pepper you mentioned would work well for a rub on any of your braai meats and so on.
Yeah, so it's
fantastic.
It's definitely wine that you can enjoy. It's very versatile.
Very enjoyable. And you mentioned that it's something that people can confidently pick, they can rely on. And we've noticed during the last 12 to 15 months during the COVID period that people really want brands that they can trust. They may be watching a little bit how much they're spending and or they're ordering online and don't have anyone advising them. So they go for a brand that they know, and Zandvliet's been around, as you say, since 1975, always delivering winning awards and consistency.
Yeah.
So that's been really positive for you.
Just over $100 a bottle.
I've seen in your cellar here, so when you do a cellar tour, you can see some of those older vintages in your library, which is so special. It's a beautiful underground cellar, interleading from one room to the next with historic pictures and the older vintages. And another special thing at Zandvliet is, of course, is these large bottles that one can actually buy and order online. So you can order them through Vinimark or Zandvliet, and if you do visit, you can carry that baby home personally.
No, 3, 5, 9 liters. We go up to, we've got a 27 here at the bottom.
Who carries a 27 litre?
No, I think you phone the fire brigade and let them come and open it and do the rest. But people are sometimes afraid of a 3 or a 5 litre. I think we've got a 9 standing here. Well, you need 18 good friends if you've got a 9.
Or 6 good friends.
6 good friends, it all depends. Open it up. When you finish it, please don't throw away the bottle. Send it back to us and we will...
Or keep it as a memento.
You can keep it or we could refill it for you.
I see.
Recork it with the next vintage out.
Fantastic.
Get your friends to sign the label, make it special.
That is so
memorable.
special.
So that's what you should do.
It's rare these days, so it's lovely to have that opportunity, and it's such a nice thing to strike.
Yeah.
Right, so our next wine is the Kalkveld, and that's exactly what we were talking about here. So do you want to tell us a little bit about, calcareous soil, limestone, the calcium we referred to for in the soil for the horses to build strong bones, for the roses, and how that impacts on the vines, the grapes, the wine itself. Yeah,
so first of all, it's maybe the reason for it being here in the valley. They come in little circles and scattered around all over the place. So if you go,
so the formations of kalk are in circles.
In little circles. The diameter is about anything from 25 to about 50 meters in diameter.
Wow.
It's quite big. So if you go on Google Maps in the area and you zoom down, you won't find them next to the river. So you will find them about 200-300 meters away from sort of the river banks.
So if you look on Google Maps and you get an aerial view of Zandvliet, you'll actually see these calcareous formations, looking like pale soil and circular formations.
So in Afrikaans it's called, I've learned, it's called little heuveltjies, but the reason for it being there, it's ancient termite nests. And it's been there, they say, before or pre-Jurassic period.
Wow.
So it's quite old. So you can just imagine such a big nest, and you've got that mound that sticks out, that would have been a story high, possibly,
that
even
high.
a story and a half high. Yeah. It's quite big, so that's where you get that little mound. Now, if you look over the land, you'll just see a little hill. So we've planted right through it, we've ripped through it. We didn't dig up the chalk or the circle and spread it. Some people do that. The reason why they do it, because they want sort of an even soil, even spread.
Right.
Because the effect of that much chalk in a specific area, the concentration is that you sit with a much higher pH, so it's 9.6 roundabout.
That's high.
It's quite high, where normal soil will be, I think Stellenbosch is a little bit more acidic, 5.5 to maybe a bit higher, 6. over here in Robertson we get from 7 and upwards. So even though it sounds not a lot, it's quite a lot to go up to 9.6. Now we've learned that if the pH is that high, the nutrients are in the soil, but the plant is not capable of extracting.
Is that so?
So it's not available to the plant. So when you get a vine standing in that much chalk, it tends to struggle and stress a little bit more. So maybe you've been to some tastings and you heard the winemaker talk about a vine that's stressed, maybe low tonnage per hectare, gives you more concentration. So that's what nature is doing here for us.
Yes.
And so the wines that we get from it, it's got a smooth sort of structure, but it gives us a smaller bunch, and it makes a wine that you can keep. It's almost a little bit of a savory character behind it. It comes in the form of a salt,
right.
calcium
so that
and
sort
magnesium.
Of more savory quality actually gets experienced in the wine itself.
Yeah. So what we've seen with this mix of calcium, magnesium, normally you look for calcium being around about 4.5 to 1 magnesium. Over here it's 2 to 1, so it means that the magnesium levels are very high. So those are decomposed little termite skeletons. And that's where we get the chalk from in the soil. And we as winemakers, we're building stories. So we live off the land, and we see these changes every vintage. And what we've seen here is every year that we find a dry winter, it's if this thing is even more pronounced in the vineyard, because you tend to get.
It's almost like those, like in a dry spell, ants come out looking for water.
Yeah.
So, and I would presume the termites needing to come out as well. So it's almost like the ghosts of the termites are out there active and influencing the soils and the wine even more.
Exactly. So, I think enough about the soil. Maybe we should taste it.
Exactly.
Let me just into this one.
So forget about the skeletons,
Yeah.
but the calcareous soil, it's really interesting to know that is the background to these calcareous soil. I didn't know that. And but we do know that chalk is so important in so many areas around the world, in some of the most famous wine regions in Burgundy, in the Loire, and it's one of the reasons why Robertson is able to make beautiful Chardonnay, as you do, and Sauvignon Blanc. The calcareous soils are well drained.
Yes.
And vines like well-drained soils. They don't like having their roots sitting in water.
No.
So that's very valuable. And then the added benefit that you've got that savory component, that minerality that comes into the wine, the final product.
Yeah.
So this is the Kalkveld Shiraz, and I see it's a 2017 vintage. How long has this one been in oak?
2017, also run about 2 years, and we, with oaking that one, we used a selection of 500 litre size barrels. About 30% of that is new French oak. It all depends on the vintage. If I move it then to a food rare barrel later on in the aging, at first I have a look, the first year, the effect of the oak. So if I see that it's sort of the wine, the aging moves slowly in the 500, then I keep it longer. If it's moving a bit quicker, then I'll just take it out and I'll move it to a bigger food rare barrel.
Again, not to have too much toasty oak influence.
So I think time in oak is important, but respect for the wine is for me more important than anything else. We've seen that you don't. We've seen that you don't need too much oak.
I think that you referred to that period in the 90s where I think there was a lot of quite heavy oaking, and as South Africans we quite enjoyed it. But one gets tired of it, and today people are wanting more to actually taste the fruit in the wine. Not over-fruited, but at least not masked by oak. So they pulled it back a bit.
Yeah, just a nice balance between the two. And we found that our wines like to be in oak for about 2 years.
Right.
We bottle it then, and we say keep it a year in the bottle before we release it. And Yeah, this one you can keep it for a couple of years before you enjoy it, but still it's tasty and try it.
It's got just a step up in terms of intensity, so the lovely freshness of the current Zandvliet Shiraz. As you say, it's light, you can drink it, you can enjoy this, I'm sure, over lunch on a hot day.
Yep.
This is a little bit more serious, got a lot more intensity on the nose.
Yep.
So it offers always as a food wine. All of your wines actually are great with food. But maybe it's that armchair by the fire, a little bit more time, as well as daily dining.
Yeah, no, definitely. So a little bit of, what's that, prunes in the background, darker berries coming through.
So it's got definite weight to it and texture, which is what one's wanting for a more serious Shiraz, for not just every special occasion, but definitely every evening you could be drinking a bottle of the Kalkveld Shiraz.
Yes.
Yeah.
No,
fantastic.
definitely.
Well done.
Thank you.
And a nice story to go with it. So I love a good story. And we've got a third wine coming up, the Hill of Enon. Do you want to start?
Yeah, Hill of Enon. This one. So it's the vintage 2018 Hill of Enon. Yeah, nicknamed Smallberry Pick. Let me pour some.
Thank you.
So I've gone through the whole story of the chalk, and yeah. So this is actually the grapes that comes from the circles, the plants, the vines that's planted right in the middle of these circles.
Okay.
They tend to struggle quite a bit, stress. They give us smaller berries, smaller bunches than compared to the Kalkveld. So to not confuse you, the Kalkveld and the Hill of Enon, that's from the same block. So it's just in this block that you find these little circles.
Right.
And
so a block is a parcel of vineyards, right?
Parcel
just
of vineyards.
To explain it
so this one is about
sure.
3 hectares in size. It's quite big, so
yeah.
a bit more than 3 rugby fields. To just give context to it. And so in this 3 hectares, we've got about 6 of these circles, around about 25 to 50 diameters. What we've seen, it's not there every vintage. So it was, first one released is 2003, then 2012, then we skipped a whole lot again, 15, 16, 17 and 18.
Okay, so this is a sort of a more, it's your premium flagship wine,
yes.
Not made in every vintage, almost like a reserve wine.
It's a reserve wine.
From the same parcel or block, 3 hectares as this one.
Yes.
This is every vintage?
Every vintage.
All right,
yes.
and this is only in special vintages?
Special vintages. Now, if you listen closely to the vintages I mentioned, and you look at the weather and everything, you would have realized that the past, from 2015, we've experienced a drought in Cape Town. So our winters was really bad. When we don't get rain on this parcel of this 3 hectares, we know that clay holds and reserves, sort of acts like a reservoir underground for your plants. But chalk or kalk or limestone, it doesn't. Right. Everything just drains right through.
Exactly.
So that gives you the reason why the plants are stressing, why the bunches are smaller. So every year before sort of harvest, 2 or 3 weeks before, we just go and have a look and see if there's any small berries. So I tell my staff, go out, take your hand. If you can close your hand around a bunch, right, then the bunch is small enough. And if the berry is the same size as your pinkish nail, that's a small berry.
That's an excellent way of looking at it.
So
the bunch has to fit in your hand,
Yeah.
and your pinky nail is the indicator of a small berry.
So we call it a small berry search. So we first go out and we have a look and see where it is. We know now where the circles are, but it's very romantic, and take my wife and the kids with. In the evenings we go and have a look. We mark it with Spanish reed. So on the day of harvest, we go out, we walk there, we take our baskets, we harvest, this from the circles, bring it in. Roughly 2 to 2.5 tons that we get from it, and then we ferment it separately. Usually open fermenter, we pigeage, we punch down a little bit. Also whole berries, it's fermented naturally. And so very, very little influence, other than just allowing the processes to happen. And then it goes to Small oak barrels, 300 litre size. Also for sometimes a year and a half. It's very concentrated, this wine, and year and a half to 2 years. And yeah, we receive about 500 litres per ton, which is much less than the 700 to 750 per ton normally. Yeah. So it just gives you an indication of the size of the berry. It's really small, under a gram for a berry. And yeah, we bottle it and mostly sold through you guys, Vinimark, and from the tasting room.
Fantastic.
And it's really
something very special.
Yeah, after people, we've got our small berry clients or fans. They can't wait for the next vintage out. So 2019 I'm getting ready in the cellar. I was thinking just maybe another month after tasting it. So how I do that is just draw from the different barrels. And I'm not a person who says in the morning 10 o'clock I need to taste red wines and decide on it. It's for me more a thing of when do you drink red wines? It's in the evening. Yeah. So I like to maybe just get quiet before the meal and on my own where there's no other flavors, and then just sit down. And it's good to ask my wife and say, I don't tell her what she's tasting. It's just pour her something and just tell me, what does it make you feel?
Well, it's lovely to hear that we get a sort of a feminine touch coming in there too, a bit of that intuition, gut feel.
Yeah, two heads is better than one, so it's always good to taste it and to share it, and then we put it in the bottle, we bottle it, leave it lying down, we wax the top.
Yes, beautifully done.
The bottle can't go through our labeling machine, so if you find a bottle that's the label slightly skewed because it's been put up by hand labeled, but I see, but we do get it right.
You did a good job.
Did a good job. So that's
and I think just two things that came up there for me. The word stress. Even my kids are using the word stress today. We're all stressed, but stress for a vine and in the vineyards has a slightly different meaning. We sort of welcome a little bit of stress. If the vines are stressed, it means that those roots, the wide root system, looks further for water, pulls in minerals, and actually it's going to mean better things for the grapes because it draws in some of that minerality, that savory character.
Definitely.
And as you said, the small berry, so the small berry pick, what we're getting then, if they're going to be the size of your pinky, depending on how big your pinky nail is, but certainly that ratio of skin to the flesh of the grapes is higher.
Yes.
So we've got more concentration of color, more of the anthocyanins, the tannins. So there's a lot of flavors that are going into. It's not just big bunches. The table grapes you buy can often be so watery, and that explains the success of this wine.
Yeah, no, definitely. And you mentioned table grapes. I mean, those are for looks. But if you go to grapes, to make wine, they look pretty to me. But of course, I'm a winemaker. But it's more about the context inside of the berry, and some years we call it a skin year or a juice year. It depends on the size of the berry. So if it's a juice year, normally you would get a bit more rain, and the berry is a bit bigger. That happened in 2013 and 2014.
Right.
And that's why we didn't release a small berry pick. And other years, the skin is a bit more tougher, smaller berries. So that comes back to that concentration that you get, and that's what we as winemakers like. We just don't focus immediately on what we see here. We have to work 2 years with this before it's in the bottle. So it's a long time to get your rewards.
But we can be patient.
Yeah, and we do.
So what I noticed here, there's almost a perfume on this wine. So as much as I love that the fruit and the honesty of the Zandvliet Shiraz that makes it so drinkable every day, any time of day, and then that more concentrated savoury character on the Kalkveld Shiraz, what I'm finding here on the head of Enon Smallberry Pick is almost a perfume on the nose.
Perfumey, flowery, sort of lavenders almost coming through. Yeah, it's very, very interesting what this wine, what it does and how it develops in the glass. Yeah, and it's it's got a full palate.
Yeah.
A long roll on the back.
Exactly, and I think that's what I wanted to refer to. There's almost, it glides along the palate.
Yep.
So there's, here it's not chunky, but there's more presence on the side palate that I referred to that makes it such a good food wine. This too, but there's an elegance that just continues to glide over your palate.
Yeah. So
Right.
and it fills all the spots, and it's actually it's a beautiful drink. So very pretty. So,
Excellent, well done. Yeah. So we've got one last wine that I wanted us to taste because it's something unusual. It's also Shiraz. So it's perhaps not immediately apparent to people when they see VLW written on the label, but underneath it's Cape Vintage. So we understand immediately that's a fortified wine.
Yes.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about this?
Yeah, we can't call it port anymore, so we call it a VLW, Vintage Liqueur Wine. So that's what the VLW stands for, and it's vintage 2014. It's made from Shiraz.
Yeah.
Reason why we use Shiraz, it's not a traditional port varietal, it's because we've got Shiraz on the farm, and we want to show how versatile the Shiraz can be. And
you're not the only ones who make or use Shiraz in port. I mean, outside of South Africa, Australia is famous for their Shiraz port-styled wines or fortified wines, and there are a number of South African people, well, not as many, but there are a few in South Africa who either use it in combination with Portuguese varieties or focus on it. But it makes sense if you are a Shiraz specialist and then to do that here.
So we don't make a lot of it. So what we have to do is we allow the grapes to fully ripen a little bit further than what we use for the other three Shirazes, meaning where we normally pick this 23 to 25 bulling of sugars, we allow this one to go as high as 27, 28. So
that's the sugar levels, the ripeness.
The ripeness. And then we bring it in, fermentation takes place, and then we ferment it to roughly 10 bulling. So it drops about 17 bulling. So that will give you about 8 to 9% alcohol, and then we fortify it with brandy spirits that's around about a year old, 70%, pot still brandy spirits.
Pot still brandy.
Yes. So we use a proper one, and this is 2014. That was bottled in 2019. What gives that 5 years in a barrel.
Fantastic.
And it's old barrels. We use, that's barrels that's 10, 15 years old. We don't want sort of the oaky flavors in the wine. We just want this wine to develop in the barrel for that new spirits that you added to this product. Can't really say it, but it's nothing more worse to taste fortified wine just after fortification. It needs it needs a 4 or 5 years in a barrel to just settle down, allow the two to marry, get used to one another, and then we're right in the middle of winter now, and definitely a port evening tonight for me. And I've noticed that this isn't really, it's as if things change, traditions, cultures, everything changed, and this is a traditional way of ending a meal end of the evening, and I don't know how many people still have a bottle of port.
Oh, I have quite a few.
Yeah, we do. But open it and share it.
Why wait?
So, and it's beautiful stuff, and it just ends the evening on a really sweet tone. So,
and not just the evenings. If you are cooped up on a rainy day, on a Sunday afternoon, what better time? Or having a lazy lunch on Saturday and you're not going anywhere. It's creative. A beautiful alternative to a sweet dessert. You don't have to have dessert and port, or you could.
Thinking aged cheeses with it.
Very good.
Maybe some nuts.
Yes.
Definitely. You can be really creative with the wine. Enjoy it. Shall we taste it?
Yes, please. All right. Cheers, and thanks for having us here today.
It's our pleasure.
That's good. So it's got some of those fruitcake kind of flavors, almost a chocolatey texture to the palate.
Yep. Now dark chocolates with a little bit of marzipan there in the background,
exactly,
lingering.
That sort of almond marzipan note.
So yeah, it's developing beautifully in the bottle also, and yeah, it's not overly sweet. It's
No,
sort
and
of,
that's what's so pleasant about
yeah,
it.
so
you
it's
know?
not real sticky or anything. It's actually flowing quite nicely. So
Which almost surprises me, because I think one expects Shiraz then to really power out
Yeah.
when some of those Portuguese varieties, not that they're very oxidative, but they have that savory quality almost as a natural wine. And then when you have it as a fortified, it goes in more into that savory. So pleasantly surprised that it's not too sweet for those who are wanting fortified wine but don't want, a big glass of syrup. This is certainly not. It's very well balanced. So that's the VLW Zandvliet Cape Vintage. And as you said, the 2014. Are there vintages that you've made since then?
Yeah,
Can we look forward to those?
No, 2015, 2017, 2020. Yeah.
Wow.
So it's also not every year. We do get the southeaster rain here after harvest. So, if you get that rain and you want to ripen this, it's a fight between, everything fights for the sugar on the vine.
Yeah.
So if you get rain, berries tend to burst open. And then, we're not going to make something if...
Just for the sake of making
yeah,
it.
if the grapes is not good enough, then, we'll skip a vintage.
I'm glad to hear it, yeah.
So,
Yeah, something special. But it's drinking beautifully now, so we want people to enjoy the 2014 and look forward to the others.
Yep.
As you said, a good idea to buy a few bottles and keep them at home of future vintages, and in 10 years' time you can write back to us and let us know how they're doing.
Yeah, no, definitely. And, current times, if you run out of wine in your cellar, it's your own fault.
Yes, no.
You need to
we don't want to be
stock up.
caught in lockdown or sales ban without something.
So, I think winter is going to be cold.
This one.
It's definitely already started. It's really cold outside. Get them in.
Get your stocks, yes. So it's been fantastic to try 4 different Shiraz-based wines today at Zandvliet. Jacques, I really appreciate those stories.
Yes.
You've taught me a lot. I didn't know about the termites. And there's always something to learn. So if you're in the area of Robertson, Ashton, you're very welcome to come, visit the tasting room, cozy fire going, or see the roses in spring and summer. And order the wines online. We've got a competition running for this tasting, so please enter. And thanks once again for having us.
Oh, Ginette. Thank you for coming, and look forward to many more merry times.
Excellent.
With you guys. Cheers.
Cheers, everyone.